today. Heather and Beige have the Blizzard news you really want to hear about. This is ChillPoint. How's Blizzard doing?
Well,
it's a little melty.
yeah, but they're very large, so I'm sure they'll be around for a long time yet. They're too big to fail.
What kind did you even get me?
Have you tried it?
Well, I'm assuming
Taste
it's
a little first.
chocolate and maybe cherry.
Yes,
Yay, you know me.
I do.
Now ChillPoint even more chill than regular.
These are way too big.
You want some, Paul?
Glad
Sure.
to hear it. All right.
You want some of both?
Okay, this is cool.
This is the merger you really want, right?
Yeah, there we go. The Blizzard. Wait, okay.
Some news in the
There you
actual
go.
Blizzard merger. Paul's ended up with more than either of us.
I think, yeah, it's one of those things where I got half of both of you. It ended up with
No,
twice as much.
I gave you a third.
Oh, did you? I think I gave him about a third too. Yeah. Okay.
We
All right,
each have
well,
2/3.
There's a bunch of stuff we're going to talk about. But
So I got the one of the month, which is mint brownie.
oh,
I'm,
I mean, mint chocolate chip is like my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really for chill point, putting the chill in the point.
Yeah.
Agreed. We might not do this every week.
So,
So,
I probably should say, welcome to Checkpoint, ChillPoint. Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about video game news occasionally, between mouthfuls.
and kind of try to give you a sense of the larger story behind what the nonsense we went into on Checkpoint.
Remember, checkpoint, sometimes the story gets condensed a little.
Yeah.
A reminder to you that if you are watching this and you're able to put up with the fact that we're eating, we're moving moon bases eventually. Yeah, they're renovating it right now.
We got ice cream all over this moon base.
It's just absolute nonsense. And so if you want to support what it is that we do here, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun is a great way to do that. But you can also just go to the store.loadingreadyrun.com, and there is a collection of new merch, the Welcome Aboard collection from Moonbase Space Lines. It is limited edition merch celebrating the launch of Moonbase Mark 6, and you can buy some merch and be a part of that whole thing and celebrate along with us. We've got the Moonbase Penny Arcade pin. We've got the Moonbase 20th Century Travel poster. We've got the Moonbase Mission patches, which includes a checkpoint patch. Those will be Velcro patches, and I think I have to update the thing now to say that they're going to be Velcro patches.
I saw some very excited in the
Yeah.
checkpoint comments about them being Velcro.
People love this stuff. They're like, I want to put...
I feel like you just decided they were going to be Velcro like a couple days ago.
I've been going back and forth because the idea of sewing on patches is like that's a thing people will do. But I've always kind of thought that if you got Velcro back patches, that you could still sew them on because they're still
you
woven
can.
or embroidered.
I mean, technically you can
bit
because
thicker.
they can be a little hard to sew on still, just because you're going through a thicker thing.
Yeah.
But I think, from my experience, Velcro patches are easier to sew on than the ones that have the glued backing, because
Yes.
trying to get through the glue is really annoying.
I do not want to do iron-ons.
Yeah. Beach and I have had extensive conversations about these things
Yeah.
and how utility
Yeah, and
plus design.
you can buy all of those things in a bundle, which will also include a first-class ticket and an amenity kit for you to enjoy on your extended space flight to the new moon base. Caution, the ticket is non-redeemable. You are not going to be able to use it to come here and visit.
The ticket is not usable as a ticket.
For entertainment purposes only.
I mean, I know that I know I'm like a resident of the moon base, but I still get an amenity kit, right? Mm-hmm. Cool.
I'll make sure there's enough.
Or I know
You have
what's
to
in
travel
them, and
very
I
far.
think they're cool. Mm-hmm. Like this blizzard.
There isn't going to be like a melted blizzard in your amenity kit.
No.
Don't worry about it.
No, food is not a thing we can really do.
No.
So, Checkpoint. this week we talked a lot about video game news, and the two main things that people pieces of feedback that people had in the comments were about the Sonic picture in the sex point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, I kind of keep forgetting about that until somebody reminds me about it. I do block that one from my mind a lot.
I had other things I was thinking about doing for that that involved Sonic and 30th anniversary, and then I'm like, I don't want to put Paul through this. I'll just pick that picture and it'll be fine.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You know.
Although I was laughing because when I first followed the link that you gave me to the picture, it just took me to a page that said like 403 forbidden. I was like, I know it's forbidden, but I have to download it anyway. But then I was I loaded it again and it worked, so I don't know. And then the other thing, lots of folks talking about AI stuff and its various capabilities, which is obviously a whole thing.
Well, and you and I had a longer conversation about that after the camera turned off.
And it's yeah, I mean it's an interesting question. Obviously, there's sort of the two parts of it of like what we can see it doing now, and then the sort of like what can it do in the future. Tom Scott had a actually interesting video about
I watched that
about AI generation stuff and talking about the sort of S curve of technology adaptation of the sort of starts off slow and then zooms up and then slows down, and he's like, I don't know where we are on this curve right now. We might be at the top in the sense that we're kind of like this current form of AI, these sort of chat GPT iterative kind of AI, maybe there isn't that much more refining that can be done on it. Maybe in order to get a more interesting AI, we'd have to go try a whole different technique.
It might take some time to get that next leap.
Or maybe we're just at the beginning and things are going to totally pop off. We don't know.
Yeah.
Generative AI.
So within the context of what was said in the story, Roblox using it, Roblox is just garbage, regardless of however they use anything. They are a giant scam of multitudes. So don't really trust them using it, regardless of anything. Even though I think the idea of using AI for coding is a neat idea, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like using AI to let kids design stuff more easily, I think is a fine thing to be doing. The fact that it's in Roblox means that those things are more likely to be used as for exploited for financial gain.
I've never heard a good story about Roblox. Anytime it gets brought up, it's always something terrifyingly awful is happening over there.
I mean, Roblox, the old Roblox is fine and everyone likes it, isn't much of a story. So, nobody writes stories about that.
Now, in the Ubisoft section of it, which, granted, Ubisoft has its own problems as a company, but I believe...
Speaking of, I don't feel like I haven't heard a lot of, when Ubisoft shows up in the news, it's not usually very positive either.
Yeah, that's true. But in terms of their ghostwriting thing, if I recall what that is, that type of writing is about, is it's not like the writing does all the writing and then it's in there forever. It's meant to be more of a first pass, first draft.
Yeah, it's meant to be sort of.
It's almost sort
of a
writing prompt,
a writing tool. This is the video. Which is it's kind of interesting actually. If it wasn't for the additional the aspect of but what is it going to mean in the future, which is a legitimate question. This particular use seems like it could be actually quite interesting. So, they show this thing of like giving it a prompt, and then the system comes up with sort of not variations, but like things that go along in that.
Okay.
So this actually seems, and then so this is all, but the idea is that this is, and in my experience, this is the kind of thing that these sort of AIs are actually quite good at. This sort of giving you a bunch of stuff to kind of get the ball rolling on something, and then they show sort of they're taking this, and then they can edit it and they can change it and do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's like more as sort of a way to generate, almost sort of a brainstorming thing, or
Yeah,
kind of
you're still gonna have a person kind of going through. It's not like that NPC has an entire AI written into the game, and it's constantly spouting stuff like people have done with Twitter accounts or things like that, right?
Yeah. And so, and I mean, obviously, you can see that in the future this could be used in all sorts of nefarious ways.
Oh, easily. Most tech can be, and it's generally sometimes the first thing that happens with a lot of tech, which I think is, the. So I don't think AI is inherently terrible, but I do think it is interesting watching the gaming industry go from the buzzword of NFTs and blockchain directly to AI, and I think that's partially why there's that like, oh good, what are they doing now thing that we always kind of get into.
And it's sort of in that same, not that NFTs and AI are necessarily related in any way, but it has that same aspect of like, it's a technology that is somewhat amorphous and can be applied to a lot of different things in ways that are not immediately clear.
Yes.
But who an extremely highly paid consultant could probably explain to you.
Yes.
I honestly had no idea how broad AI is used as a term until we watched Last Week Tonight when John Oliver did a segment on it a couple weeks back. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize we used that to essentially, in some respects, just describe algorithms.
It's true. Like, I mean, the term AI gets thrown around a lot. I mean, AI was used, obviously, years and years and years before the current era of the sort of generative AI stuff.
And the thing that everybody thinks AI is, is general AI, not narrow AI, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're talking about when we talk about like GPT-4 and like all that, it's like these are LLM, these are large language models. And you can think of them as being a narrow AI, but it depends. It's like I'm not an expert in that field, so it's hard for me to say like, could you even consider that a narrow scope of artificial intelligence, or is it like Markov chains in that respect, where it's like you can't really call that artificial intelligence really. They just generate, like we were talking about spooky script, right? And that idea of like, what happens if you can create a language model and machine learning that can actually like make a really cool experience for somebody if they're chatting with like Eliza or something like that. Do you really end up calling that artificial intelligence? Maybe you don't, because it doesn't even have a larger application outside of I can just talk to this thing and it can talk back to me.
But this is what I mean about the whole buzzword thing of it, right? ChatGPT became a very popular thing to play with for a lot of people online. So people were saying the word AI a lot online. And then, and the video game industry, especially, is very much has a good portion of it chasing whatever that big thing is, whatever the next thing is, that tech.
When you're in that investor call,
Yeah,
and you're the CEO or whatever, the CTO, and some investor is like, so what is your future plans for AI? Mm-hmm. The same guy who said, what are your future plans for NFTs last year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got to have something.
It's true. And there's the sense of like, if I was like, how many years has it been that EA has always said, oh, we've improved the AI in Madden or FIFA?
Right, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's that sense of that we've referred to this as like the next generation of AI, and it's kind of like, but is it though? I'm like, all you're doing is, because when you start tracking that back into like the 80s, for like, it's like, oh well, the enemy tracking in Doom is amazing, way better than Wolfenstein, like that kind of idea. It's like,
Right.
okay,
At a certain point, we just called it pathfinding.
exactly. You do have some stuff in your beard.
Gonna happen.
Yeah.
But like, do you remember the Cooking Mama saga?
Oh, with the
One of the first things about that game that we found out was like there was that weird web page that went up that was clearly for investors, and they
Yeah.
used things like blockchain and whatever and like crypto in their messaging,
Yeah.
which I don't think was even in the game in the end.
well, we
It
we
was
couldn't
just-
we couldn't figure out
It just
why
seemed
are
like
they saying all
somebody,
this.
Somebody said, "Oh, these make us sound
You said the magic
a
word.
certain way."
Yeah.
And that was before we had the huge burst into it.
Yeah.
Even. And that whole tale of a game is just odd.
So, anyway, I'm sure there'll be many more stories about weird AI stuff in the future. And as I saw,
One of my old buddies just subbed, so I'm giving him a wave.
I saw somebody say in the chat that there is the aspect where like, well, there's nobody ever really has come up with a useful purpose for NFTs.
Yeah.
But AI does have,
Yeah.
all sorts of really interesting purposes.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it also has things that can be used for in ways that we don't want. But
It's also got some incredibly boring uses that I've seen people try to make content out of, and well, I guess you tried, so good for you.
Like, I love people talking about, okay, can you use this kind of thing from a medical context? And people are like, that's terrifying. The idea that, oh, what if this? And it's like, sure, but what if also we have hundreds of thousands of different illnesses and interactions with drugs and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, so what if you actually built a good enough system that could analyze symptoms and be like, okay, well, I can chunk all this stuff, and as an intelligent agent, I can use that information you're giving me and being like, okay, high probability chances are these three things this person has wrong with them. Low probability chances, oh, it's lupus. The house phenomenon, right?
yeah, filtering is certainly something that it can do.
Yeah.
that there's very interesting possibilities. And I mean, one of the things, to bring it back to the story, Roblox, one of the things that they talked about was, so they're making this stuff, and it's like, these I want to have, 3 spheres that
Yes.
move and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that sort of AI, what's sometimes called like AI pair programming or
Oh, right.
Copilot
Yeah.
is I think what GitHub calls it. Can do very interesting things, and what Roblox themselves say is that this is a really interesting area of research, and the Roblox system or environment is a sort of safe way. It's not perfect,
Yes.
and it's going to have issues, and the Roblox environment is a nice place for it to have those issues, as opposed to a self-driving car.
Sure. Absolutely. And you know what it reminds me of? Star Trek: The Next Generation. When Geordi would say, hey, computer, write me, I need a subroutine to do whatever, or he's kind of fiddling away with whatever, and he's hitting a few buttons and doing stuff, and I'm kind of like, no one who's written code in their life would be like, oh, he's just programmed this thing to do this incredibly particular whatever. It's like he's combining modules with stuff, and he's doing all these things, and the computer is doing probably a lot of work in the background. And you have to understand how the computer works and how it does the programming, and it's working with you to say, here's the things I can reveal to you so that you can build the thing in the area that you're doing it with, because the LCARS interface is like not really a general purpose programming interface. And I loved that idea of you can say, "Hey, computer, do this thing for me." Great, I'm taking that and I'm going to twiddle with that a little bit. And now I've written this whole program, and it's completely accepted in the 24th century that you can do that. You can work with a computer to build you something. And I'm like, I like that idea. I think that's a really cool idea.
Like I was actually, because when I was talking about it, I was sort of, messing around with some ChatGPT stuff a little while ago, and one of the things, and I've seen other people describe it like this, which is there's this aspect where it doesn't it's considered to be something to do with how it's being trained. It considers it a high priority to appear sure about stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was, I had a particular, I was just sort of seeing if it could do a particular programming sort of layout program. I was like, I want a square, and I want a box inside another box. I want to be able to move the outside box without the inside box. But I had a bunch of like requirements that I wrote out in, plain English. And it sort of got halfway there. And then I was like, okay, I needed to change it so that, this is this doesn't work. So change it so it does work. And it goes, oh, I'm sorry. Here, I fixed it for you. Mm-hmm. Which it hasn't. It still doesn't work. And so I'm like, no, it's not working. This is the problem. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Here's the right version. And it's like, no, that's not the right version. The description I saw, it's like working with like a sociopath who cannot admit, like it would be like, it's like the most passive aggressive, horrible person to work with.
Yeah,
where they're just like, yep, I fixed that. And then you look at what they did and you're like, no, you clearly haven't fixed that.
Yes.
Well, at least
and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I fixed it now. And you're like, no, now you've just made it worse.
Yeah. I've had coworkers like this. Actually, I've had babysitting jobs like this.
It's weird because it's like, at least with another person, you could be like, see how that box is not inside the other box like I told you to do?
Well, you say that, but...
it needs, like, there needs to be, and maybe this is something that can be done or has already been done or maybe, or what, but like, there's the concept in programming of unit testing.
Yes.
Right, which is where it's sort of an odd thing when you first hear about it because it seems redundant, but it's basically, you say 1 + 1 equals... The easy version of it is like you write a function that says, take two numbers and add them together. 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
And then you separately have a thing being like, run this function with 1 + 1, and if it comes out with 2, good.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have all those tests.
Yeah.
So that you can tell if at some point your 1 + 1 function stops doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like there's this aspect where it's like you tell it to do all this stuff, and then the system the ChatGPT thing writes the thing for it. But it needs a step where it feeds that back into it and is like, did I actually do
yeah
what I was asked?
It needs a second bot that is like very critical of the first bot. If you could tell ChatGPT, it's like, I want you to do this, but I want you to do it and be critical of the work that you've done yourself.
Yeah.
I want you to actually like...
Pretend some other chatbot wrote this.
Yeah.
Tell it why it's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, in most cases, if you have a person write something...
Yeah.
Let's say an article for games journalism or whatever, that typically still goes through another human being for editing, right?
Yeah.
Which, in the sense, a lot of people are trying to do with ChatGPT. The problem, of course, is if you don't know enough about the topic that you're reading on, and it acts as confident as it does, you still need an expert to be like, no, that's not how Kingdom Hearts works.
Yeah.
Well, and as people in chat have pointed out, that is indeed a generative adversarial network, which is a big part of how these things are trained.
Yes.
But from what I understand, and I don't know a ton about the training process, but from what I understand, a side effect of the current adversarial training, meaning like there's basically two AI systems that are evaluating each other.
Right.
one of the side effects is this thing where it doesn't admit that it's wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that would lower its score from the other one, being like, look, it was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just kind of an odd. Anyway.
Like, that's not the effect I want.
But it's still cool. And I could certainly see it. You know, they talk, like, I've heard people saying it's like, oh, it's basically just, you know, glorified Stack Overflow. That's really useful.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I can get behind some
So
of...
it's still really useful.
I can get behind some of the complaints that basically, again, somebody will take it and use it for an extremely immoral purpose.
Yeah.
But that typically tends to happen with humans. Just because your artwork is on the internet doesn't mean other people just have the should have the permission to just grab it and train your AI on it.
Yeah.
That, you know, was ChatGPT the one that had the criticism of using very underpaid labor to make?
Oh yeah, something about
there's
they're using
also-
Kenyans to help like
For categorizing
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of places where there's genuine criticisms of yeah, that's probably not great. But in terms of the fact that we actually use AI, especially in this very broad category of what it is for so many things already, and this is just a buzzword, and now we're hitting that thing of it's really hard to have a proper conversation because you don't know what someone says what they
Right.
actually
When-
mean when they say, "Oh, I don't like AI."
Yeah.
Right.
Period. And like, well,
'Cause-
that sentence is literally useless.
Yeah, I mean, soon we're going to get to the point where saying I don't want to work with AI is the same as I don't want to work with a computer. If we're not already at that point already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the
I'm
kinds of
pretty
stuff
sure,
that- the
a
kinds-
lot of Photoshop stuff.
A lot of
like
Photoshop
the
stuff.
content-aware filters and stuff.
A
are
lot of stuff
built
that-
on a thing like that.
A lot of, you know, most games are using AI. You know, they talk about the Ubisoft, but even the, like, aside from the programming part, a lot of graphics design, a lot of graphic stuff is has all sorts of AI properties to it now. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking while I was actually doing the graphics for this episode, you know, there's a thing about, you know, AI taking people's jobs or whatever, you know,
Yes.
use stuff. And I was thinking when I was doing the graphics that probably about, I would estimate maybe 75% of the graphics that I make for an episode, you know, one could, I don't think the way current image AIs work
Yeah.
wouldn't work for it. But I can totally imagine that you could easily make, like, you be like, I need, you know, Nintendo logo, I need Sony logo, I need this logo, I need you to put them onto a page, and I need you to, you know,
Arrange them in a triangle.
triangle, or I want the Sony logo and the Microsoft logo with boxing gloves fighting each other.
Yes.
Like something like that you can sort of describe, but it's a pain in the butt to like actually build it. And that's the kind of thing that I think an AI, these sort of image generative AIs could do, could theoretically do.
Yes.
Or, you know, I want a screenshot of this person's tweet or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, the current version, the way image AIs work right now, you're more likely to get like a picture of just like some weird like chunk of text, like generating like a picture of somebody's tweet like that wouldn't really work very well. But that could definitely exist. Theoretically, you know, taking my job.
Yeah.
But that's a part of my job that I'd be perfectly happy to have taken.
There are parts of my job that were actually quite easy to do, and then YouTube decided to take those features away for some reason. And I hate you, YouTube, so much. Bring back my playlists properly.
That's probably not the fault of AI.
No, it's
Although
not. That's not AI's fault.
depending on whether
That's
YouTube
YouTube's.
itself is run by an AI, in which case it might be the
It
fault.
could be. I'm pretty sure nobody actually works at YouTube anymore.
We've never talked to a real person
sure.
at YouTube in
I
years.
I can't seem to find anyone who really works there.
The one thing that I don't know if we brought this up while I was out of the room or not, but as Nothing Forever, as the Seinfeld-ish show
Oh,
put
is
on
that
Twitch.
what it's called?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
called Nothing Forever, I believe.
I was like nothing everywhere all at once.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
I don't know.
Nothing, nowhere, never.
Yeah.
So nothing forever. The thing about that, I was lamenting this to Heather last night. I'm like, I tuned in to watch like about 10, 15 minutes of it because people were like, this thing is so hilarious. And I tuned in to watch. I'm like, oh, okay. I was kind of my reaction. I'm like, I get it. Okay, that's just weird. Oh, and quick swerves to like other things. And it's like, okay, cool. Like I kind of see why people are enjoying this. And then you're seeing other people talk about, man, this is hilarious. I'm having such a great time watching this. And sometimes I wonder if that's because I'm a comedy creator versus not like, if I was just a comedy consumer, it might be different. But as somebody who's a creator of it, and you end up getting like immersed in that, and you become more critical of that kind of thing. But then I was also like, I wonder if it's also because the people who are really enjoying it are watching it, and then they're watching it with chat on, and they're in the chat room, and they're participating at the same time with everybody else in the chat room.
Sort of a communal thing.
And it's the audience effect, right? That it's like, I'm part of a thing that's happening, and that, like, you guys are all enjoying this as part of an audience. You're having your own conversations right now. When things, and I think for Desert Bus, you guys have the same kind of reaction where it's like a thing has happened and you're all enjoying it, but the experience is heightened because you're enjoying it as part of the group of people who are enjoying it. And I think that that's a part of it. So you get to like see the memes and the repetition and stuff, and you get to establish stuff that they went back to the restaurant again. All right, it's 30 times in an hour, like that kind of thing, right?
Right.
But also it's appealing because it's generated by a computer. That it's like, there's no way a human could write this. Why? Because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. It doesn't follow a narrative flow. It doesn't follow whatever. It's like, is it surreal? I don't know if it's surreal. I just think that it's poorly made from a human point of view, and that's the appeal of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's that aspect of like, we Kathleen after the in the post show, Kathleen was talking about how can't really write comedy.
Yes.
Which, yeah, I
can certainly write nonsense.
I haven't seen anything like she said. I've seen a few things of it, like writing scripts that are theoretically like in our sort of. I think it was somehow prompted to write it like in our style.
Yes.
And so it had like the right character names and stuff. But it was like, wow, this is cool in that it looks like a script. But like it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And like it's not actually funny.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the
but the amount of humor that people have extracted from it, because of its sort of, but it's the laughing at instead of laughing with.
Yeah.
Thing, right.
And
it's like we're laughing at you because you were so bad at this. That's not because you're funny.
And it's akin to the I forced a bot to watch 100 hours of X, right? And like you didn't.
Right.
But let's, for an example, say you fed all this shit into a Markov chain generator and it spit you out like a dozen pages. Most of those people who are posting that stuff, they go through and they tone it all down, like they crush it all back together to be like, let's take out the stuff that's nonsense, let's take out the stuff that's like slowing down the pacing, let's just keep the most ridiculous pieces in. Oh, look at this amazing thing this bot wrote. It's like most of that stuff was edited by a human, and then eventually humans just wrote it and said that they forced a bot to write it, and we all were like, oh lol, this is hilarious because it feels like what a computer would write.
I mean, a few years ago, a few years ago now, we did a thing with like AI generated quotes.
Yeah.
And I had a whole thing. I did a whole thing with that, and those were all legitimately generated by the AI.
Yeah.
But very extensively pruned in the sense that it was like I had to generate like hundreds of quotes to get ones that actually like
sounded like they might have actually been said by those people.
Good and were actually kind of interesting, not just the same thing. So, that's a lot of actual editorial guidance.
Yeah.
I will say I saw some comments where, and I don't know if maybe this is just the way I read that comment or maybe, so I'm not going to accuse you of misunderstanding what we said about this one crap shot that got made, but it sounded to me like some people said, "Oh, you did write a crap shot that was
AI generated or whatever."
AI generated. It was this one, and it's the one where at the end, Cameron like holds up a picture of Andy and says "fuck."
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that was us making fun of an AI generation thing. That was still written by a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in universe, it's written by an AI generation thing or by a Markov chain or whatever we said it was in the thing. But for the actual script itself, that was not.
I mean, there's a Friday Nights where my character comes up with a AI to generate magic cards that like actually comes up with the real magic cards that are going to be in an upcoming set.
Yeah. Let's not forget what you did to the security system of Moonbase
Exactly.
Part 3.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we've definitely been on this topic.
Let's move on from AI stuff. I'm sure
It's
it will come up.
probably our most in-depth topic for.
I'm sure it'll come up
today.
again in the future. Let's talk about something more fun, like taxes.
Great.
The Tax Haven 3000, this very silly game slash
Dating sim?
game slash dating sim slash
it's a
interactive
game.
art project.
Yeah, I think yeah.
That put out by the Mischief Collective. And apparently it was sort of up on Steam and then it went away, but I think it's supposed to be coming back in April.
The game apparently still has its website up, so I'm sure there'll be
I
a
think
whole,
it's still on like itch.io
Yeah.
and stuff. It's just Steam
Now,
not.
Yeah.
in general, I would not advocate putting your social security number in some random website, some random program.
As evidenced by the opening part of ChillPoint, where you just had guys stealing money.
Yeah. Now, in this particular, I will say that I personally actually I don't think that there's anything nefarious going on here.
Yes.
This Mischief Collective has a pretty extensive track record of producing. This isn't just like some random group.
Yeah, they do culture.
These are a
jamming,
very well-established group, and the point of this is as a commentary on the complexity and the sort of ridiculousness of the tax preparation industry,
and kind of how it drives people into being like, I hate doing this. I wish I didn't have to do this. So what if we give it a candy shell?
Right.
Yeah.
It was actually a little unclear to me through reading the website whether it was like just a thing like for fun, or whether it does actually generate a tax form that you can submit.
Yeah.
And I think it does.
Yeah, because I think you get your 1040 easy out of it or something. Yeah.
Yeah. At least some simple version of a tax form that you can. Whatever it takes to get people to do their taxes,
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, right? Because coming from the Canadian perspective, for me, I'm like, I don't find it that onerous a task. Like, I know I have to I have to now put about a good hour and a half or whatever into like collecting everything and doing that. I know that a lot of our European viewers are like, I get I get something in the snail mail or whatever from my tax authority, and I look at it and I'm like, yeah, it looks accurate, and then I sign it, or I make changes and send it back, and I'm like, so I know that there's definitely, like, I would have loved this though. Like, I like filling out forms because I'm weird, but I think I would have loved this when I was starting out doing the whole thing. I probably would have used it as well to be like, this looks like a lot of fun. I will totally try this out and see how high I can drive my deductions and stuff. And I
don't think it's necessarily Canadian versus American in terms of how complicated your tax. Like, I think your taxes in America can be pretty simple.
They can be pretty simple, yeah.
But the more stuff
if you don't own property,
my
if you don't
taxes,
own medical
my
deductions.
taxes right now are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Back when I was self-employed, or especially back when Bannock Trousers Media was just a partnership between Graham and I, things got very complicated. But now that's corporate taxes, which is a whole other thing.
Yep.
But my personal taxes are just like, hey, I work for this company.
Yep. Here's my T4.
Yeah.
I put this in. Here's where my investments are. Great. I got all. Actually, what's lovely? Nobody who's Canadian out there To give you an idea of what doing taxes is like now, so the tax prep program that I use, which is not made by Intuit, they have a NetFile has a thing. Our Canada Revenue Agency has a has something called NetFile, and you can actually log into it, and it will download into your program all of your tax stuff, like your T4s and all of your investment stuff that you have, because the banks have to file all that with the government as well. It downloads everything that it has records on for you that are living at the CRA, and then you just have to double check to make sure it's okay. And then if we have extra deductions, like if we have a home office, so we deduct a bit of that. If you have medical expenses, you can deduct some stuff off of there, right? And you just basically say, yeah, this, and you're done. It's sped up things an awful lot. And I mean, that's what Tax 7 3000 would have to do too, is it'd have to be able to do that. But I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came along and was like, we want to buy this off you and we want to turn it into an actual tax program.
You remember just going to the post office and picking up your tax package, filling it
Yeah,
out?
they used to mail me all my papers because I would let them know ahead of time. But
I mean, again, I'm not entirely sure whether this game, like, there's a whole, we showed the screenshot in the video. There's the like special edition version of the game.
Yeah.
That comes with like a big pillowcase.
Yep.
And all this
Steelbook and
all this stuff. And like I don't really know, like, this Mischief Collective does make sort of silly physical products.
Yeah.
They made those like Astro Boy shoes and all this stuff. No, those are real things that you can buy. In this case, I'm not sure whether this is a real, or if this is more like, the old like Think Geek April Fool's stuff that they used to do, where it was like, this is a funny idea, but we're not actually going to make it.
JK unless.
Yeah.
enough people said they wanted it. I guess we'll make it. Yeah.
Anyway, do taxes. You should do your taxes.
We should do our taxes.
End of April
In Canada,
for personal, and then like I think business is like June.
business is different, but
Yeah.
for Canada it's end of April.
Yep.
So we got lots of time.
Yeah.
But that's different in the States. So
Yes.
Right.
don't listen to us if you're in the
where we
States.
are in March, everyone should have started getting their T4s by now, so you can start doing your taxes.
I think the law states that all T4s have to be in people's hands before the end of February.
Oh, really?
Yeah, literally the law is like you have to have
Oh man, I
T4s
could
by
have
then.
definitely scared that guy who used to work for a lot more.
Yeah.
There's these silly fun animations for Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Which
Those look cute, and
Which I had seen-
kind of horrifying.
I had seen little things for them.
Yep.
And I didn't know the context. Like,
Yes.
I didn't know about the Masterpiece Theater thing. I thought they were just like a funny like cartoon thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's not only like a fun kids cartoon thing, but it is like perfectly replicating that intro from the
From Dog of Flanders.
Dog of Flanders is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I when I saw that these were, because I was watching them, I'm like, these are great, and then I sat down and like was going through Nintendo Life, and I'm like, oh right, this is technically video game news. It's anime news for me, so that's why I did it that way.
This
but
isn't even game news. No, wait, it is game news.
I appreciate and it's nice when something like Resident Evil, it's a franchise that's well enough established that they don't have to be like, we're super hardcore all the time.
Yeah.
Like people know what Resident Evil is. They know, like, they can be a little bit tongue in cheek about it.
And I especially love that because they picked Resident Evil 4 because of the remake. There's the second episode is basically things kidnapping Ashley and then like Leon going running after and then dying in the process or getting hurt in the process. And it's like, I'm glad to see that you haven't lost touch, like Capcom, you have not lost touch with the tropes of the game that make the game like, oh yeah, the game is scary and the game is tense and all that, but also if you look at it from a step back from it, you're like, oh, it is a little silly, isn't it? It's, yeah.
For what it's worth, from what I understand, the Resident Evil 4 remake is real good.
Well, I
That's
mean,
good.
It's supposed to be the best one, right?
I mean, Resident Evil 4 people really liked.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, all I know
this
is that 5 and 6 are not
and this is like got better
particularly
controls and stuff. So
a thing people care for, and 4 is like where it's at or something.
4 was sort of a
Maybe that's just because that's being remade right now that I'm hearing just like a lot of positive stuff for it.
Well, 4 has a particular. It was sort of a turning point in the series, so it kind of got it's got a lot of positive.
So Resident Evil 4 is Zelda's Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
Got
Actually,
it,
is a good
okay.
way to look at
That
it.
is a good way to look at it.
Yeah. They reimagined what the formula could be and turned it into something that...
Or Final Fantasy VII, yeah.
Yeah, there's that too, yeah.
And then ChillPoint, which we can just skip that.
We can skip that one.
Although
Well-
I was highly amused at how, oh, I'm never going to do this again. This was, oh, I'm so embarrassed by this. Well, this was like probably one of the tamest
Yep.
ChillPoint stories you've done.
Yep.
Also, shout out to buttplug.io.
Absolutely.
That thing about Beej being honorary CEO, but that's not something we just made up.
Yeah.
That's official.
That's something that official in as much as
That's from them.
Is it QDOT who does it? And buttplug.io
We didn't make that up.
has decided that I was the honorary CEO after all the buttplug.io videos that we've done, all the skits that we've done. And recently, after I was like, I'm never doing this again, I just had them clap me back on Mastodon being like, I am genuinely distressed at the idea that our CEO is not going to do any more ChillPoint. And I'm like, all right, well...
Well, I mean, you say that, but there might be something that comes up over the course of the year that just pulls you back, right?
It's true, yeah.
Right?
It's
it
true.
happens with everyone. We're never doing this thing again, and then something happens.
It's a
something
heavy load to bear.
That grabs you back.
I will,
Reaches around and gets you.
I will definitely keep doing this because it's like it's absolutely. I try not to lean into your innuendo as much as I can. I'll get all of a sudden the old reach around. Yeah,
I don't do it very often, but when I do, it packs a punch because everybody else is just like, "Why is Heather being that way all of a sudden?"
I love doing these and I especially love it when it's me trying to extract the sexy content out of something that doesn't. It really, when I was writing it, I was like, okay, so that's funny that Hideaki Kamiya wrote a thing being like, hey, can everyone please, the birth rate here in Japan sucks.
Yeah.
Maybe this game will inspire you to have a kid because kids are cool.
This tweet makes way more sense in context of you being in Japan.
Yeah.
Being Japanese.
There's somebody in the comments was mentioning that this is not a new thing.
No.
That Japanese media emphasizing cute babies.
Yes.
In order to try to encourage people to have babies.
Yes.
Is apparently like a strategy, like a legitimate strategy.
It would not
that they have
surprise.
been-
I mean, Spy Family is kind of the I think is like, it's a really good manga, it's a really good anime, and it's a kind of a really good thing to be like, actually having a kid looks like it's kind of fun.
I'm not okay, it's a good anime. I don't think that anime makes looking like having a kid is fun, just because of like all the stress that all those parents go through over
Well, there's that
the
too,
elite
yeah.
school and stuff.
Yeah.
But buddy daddies,
Oh yeah.
I would say,
Oh yeah.
definitely.
Buddy Daddies, you see, Paul, is about two guys who are hitmen who have very different personalities, but they live in the same house, and one of them just out of nowhere decides to adopt a small child because they end up killing her dad.
They didn't know it was her dad until like it's
I mean, there's-
Until it
there's
all happened,
backstory.
they're like, she's
But-
like 5 years old, and
but-
it's time to
but
put her
it's
There's
in.
like there's like half a dozen movies. I feel like all of the main like action stars.
Yes.
Like Jason Statham and Bruce Willis and Sylvester Stallone and The Rock. I feel like they've all done that movie.
Yes, they have. It's a very popular
but
idea.
it is super cute watching at least the very like I'm in love with how cute my child is.
Yeah.
Dad, being like, okay, well, taking care of a kid is hard. What the heck do people do? Wait, because he sees like the side of a van. Wait, you can get childcare?
Yeah, you just get
what? And then like
daycare?
the going through trying to get childcare, which is funny because it does look different in the context of what you have to do in Japan as opposed to what we would probably do.
Yeah,
here.
you have to go down to City Hall and find out what daycares are currently accepting through City Hall, and then you have to like follow like a huge list of
but then
things to do.
watching
and it's
him like put her in daycare, and they give him the list that's like, here's all the supplies your kid is going to need.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And so he goes to like all these extravagant, because he does it wrong. He doesn't know that you can just buy these things. He thinks you have to sew everything, like names into everything and like all this stuff. And then he finds out that because
They need for example, they need a towel with a loop on the end of it, and he's like, "So what, I'm supposed to like go?" So he buys a towel, like a really nice towel, and then he goes home and he sews a loop onto the end of it, and he has to like sew like name tags onto everything, and they end up at like a dollar store eventually because all the moms go to this dollar store.
Yeah, he tries to make his kid too hip by getting her too like nice of clothes, and then nobody wants to play with her.
So they go to a dollar store type thing, like a discount store, to be like, well,
like
this
a
is where all the
Walmart.
moms go for everything because everything's here. And he's walking down the aisle, he's like, they have towels with loops on them. Like, that exists.
Yeah, like it's just some of those moments are really relatable.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
So,
Anyway, I'm sorry for getting more anime into your video games.
Yeah.
It's okay.
When did we start Anime Point?
Also, I've played the entire Saritsa and the Lost Demons thing. And
Demo.
Sorry, demo, not the whole game.
You
I
played the demo. I want to point that out because the game is out and many people have played
You're
the
right.
game all the way through.
I forgot it had been released by this point. From the demo, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I would have adopted Saritsa if that was my option, because not the witchy part, but definitely the like very English accent and the very kind of.
I mean, if you have a kid and she has an English accent,
yes,
that would be a little strange.
that means I'm showing her too much Peppa Pig. She used to watch more Bluey and get that Australian accent.
I mean, I do think they need to have a healthy dose of being afraid of spiders. So all the Australian accent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, let's look at some stuff we didn't talk about.
The outro, the Persona 5
Oh, yes.
thing. What is that? I've not seen any news about a Persona 5
so
game.
My understanding of it is that it's P5X is a free-to-play mobile game that is being produced for Asian markets. Currently, all the text in the game that we've seen and in the subtitles, the subtitle for the game is all in Chinese.
Yeah, it looked very Chinese.
So the assumption is that it's probably China only, but we're not sure about that yet. Kathleen has said that the audio is Japanese. I didn't listen to the trailer, so I can't.
I'd believe that.
I can't confirm that, but it probably is. And so it looks like it's your kind of bog standard mobile game thing, probably with like a lot of Persona-ish stuff going on in it. So it looked more complicated than just your like Fire Emblem Heroes or something like that. That's kind of all we know about it because there's nothing being targeting English-speaking markets. There's not like a lot of news.
Okay. It just the video looked actually pretty interesting and like the character design looked really really neat. And
does it have a release date?
I don't know. There's very little information for us.
I not too hot. I don't actually try to play too many mobile games just because I like to keep games off of my phone when I can help it because they're too distracting. But if it had at least an interesting story, I would have probably downloaded it anyway to try it out until I got bogged down by microtransactions and I don't know.
All right. So let's talk about some stories we didn't make it into the episode. And raising a baby as two hitmen is difficult.
Yeah.
It is really. I mean, trying to work around that with your work schedule and.
But I'll tell you what is apparently more difficult: fighting bosses in Elden Ring.
Is it?
It is a notoriously difficult game.
So From Software, From Software released a on the 1 year anniversary of Elden Ring. Happy anniversary! They released some stats. So 5.9 billion boss attempts. Apparently, Millennia Blade of Miquella is the winner for most attempts to take her out.
Fair.
329 million.
So can you like run up to a boss, have it kind of become active, and then just like run away?
I think once you've engaged it, you're kind
I
of
think there's like a sort of depending on which boss. Some of the bosses are sort of out in the world, and some are like in like arenas and sort of enclosed in a area.
So like if you activate
Yeah,
that
you-
you're stuck there until you die or you win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Causes of death over the over 9 billion deaths. 2% another player, 14% falling, 15%
okay.
status effects, and 69% enemies and NPCs.
As it should be.
Very nice.
That's actually not a bad mix when you look at it. I'm sure they were probably thinking, yeah, this is probably what we would expect people to do.
2% by another player is still a lot in context of
I mean,
Billions?
the number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, people can invade your game and stuff, right? So there's that aspect.
Yeah, I imagine it would be higher if more people turned that on.
Although, check this out. These are summons. So you can summon people to help you with missions, with things, and people can also invade. A lot more people doing co-op in other people's and helping each other
That's
than
cool.
invading and fighting each other. That's always nice.
Yeah. I mean, I legitimately like hearing about video game stories where it's like, oh, people gather around in kind of a community of this and they help each other out. Especially if it's in a game where you don't have to, like, you can aggressively
Yeah,
do
yeah.
the opposite, or it's even meant to be PvP.
And to be honest, I haven't played the game enough to know what these incantations mean, but I'm assuming they mean something.
I think they're different depending on what you have, because don't they like, some of them are like summons and others are. I'm gonna stop pretending I know anything about this game.
But there's a certain aspect of the like unspoken, like, because of course you can't really actually communicate with other people in Elden Ring. Like, people can come into your game, but there's no like
There's no chat
Chat.
functionality,
or like
not even like that basic. I hit a button and my character says, "Hey."
yeah, I think you might be able to do like certain emotes, but
Okay.
but it's interesting in those circumstances how kind of a vocabulary evolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if somebody is going to attack you right away, or whether they're going to, like, there's a certain amount of a certain amount of sort of shared experience happens, which I find very interesting. But if that's too much for you, then maybe you should start hanging out with the Pokemon who's getting an official website.
All for them,
Yeah,
just for them.
Snorlax. Snorlax is getting his own website
Soon,
soon.
he's just hanging out there.
Right now, he's got a Twitter account and stuff. I mean, they should just like keep it on coming soon,
honestly,
forever.
This on its own is pretty appropriate. It's just like a countdown timer to when he might wake up.
Yeah, and it just like keeps going down. Then it goes into like minus numbers, and
It just
it's like
goes
he's
up
still
again.
like, folks, we don't know.
He shifts slightly, and then the clock adds 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah. I
Snorlax
just
is a
like
good
the
Pokemon.
so
Munchlax is better, but Snorlax is quite good.
other Pokemon have had these dedicated websites before. Eevee, Project Piplup, apparently got his own. There was a Project Piplup. Obviously, Pikachu's got his own stuff going on. The suspicion or the sort of idea there is usually these are part of a sort of a campaign thing. So there's the Pokemon Sleep app.
Snorlax is a big part of that
Right.
app, at least according to what they told us about it finally the last time they did a Pokemon thing.
Right.
So, yeah, Pokemon
So
Snorlax website kind of makes sense.
I like this I'm just imagining, like, when Nintendo was like 2018 or whatever is going to be the year of Luigi. Or was it 2019? I don't know. Whatever year it was that the new Super Mario Brothers game came out.
We were not. I don't think we were in this Moonbase when that was a thing.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I think it was earlier. I think it was 2015, actually.
Anyway, well, they were like, it's going to be the year of Luigi. We're going to bring out a bunch of Luigi stuff. I like the idea that it's like 2023. It's the year of sleep.
I'm okay with that.
Just sleep.
So much Snorlax stuff. Snorlax is very cute. I'd be fine with that. Yeah, I don't think we've been given an actual release date for Pokemon Sleep. I think maybe we got it's supposed to be this year, but I don't.
Q3 2023 is all we got right now.
Yeah, so probably sometime this year, but it'll likely just be one of those things that shows up one day.
Do you want a new Game Boy Advance game?
Yeah, okay. Why not?
Yeah. Orion Soft has launched a Kickstarter page for their new game for Game Boy Advance. Like, I get it. Sometimes when you're setting up a Kickstarter, it takes a long time to like get all of the stuff. You got to get the assets from all different places and show it to people and get people's feedback. It takes a long time to get it working.
It's hard to get a current console now, or at least it was over the pandemic. And I think they're just siding on the idea that people can get the older ones.
Yeah.
What is this game that they are doing?
So it is called Alice Sisters. It's a two-player co-op platformer for Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 1, and Atari.
Well,
and
Game Boy Advance means I need a link cable, right?
So this is also on Mega Drive, on the Genesis, and on, I think, another couple platforms as well. This is the Kickstarter to port it to these.
Right.
Yeah.
So but it is like a new game.
Yeah.
So it was a new game brought out for Mega Drive. Right. This is very strange.
Yes.
So it's a new game that was brought out for. It was originally brought out for. Where is it? For Sega Mega Drive, Genesis, and Dreamcast.
Yes. Very different
When
systems.
those systems were not new.
Yeah.
And now they're like, with this Kickstarter, we're going to be able to port it to GBA, PS1, and Atari Falcon 030.
Oh, okay. I actually even haven't heard of that Atari setup. That's wild.
So it's just like, and then I guess in 10 years, they'll be like, now we're going to port it to Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
And yeah, I think because it is dual player, I think it is link cable compatible if you want to play with two people.
Well, that's what I mean. If it's two player and it's on Game Boy Advance, I'm pretty sure you need link cables at that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
And
co-op,
probably two copies
for
of the
co-op
game.
play, they've confirmed that you'll be able to link up two GBA consoles with a link cable via multi-boot capability. You only need one copy of the game.
Ooh, that's very nice of them.
That's great. I like that.
4 unique worlds, 28 levels, 4 bosses, 4 game modes,
I'm not sure that it's in any way related to the Great Guyana Sisters.
cute graphics.
I feel like when you say game modes and then you basically say between easy and hardcore game modes, that's just 4 difficulty levels.
Well, there's a 4th mode that is a puzzle mode.
Where, it looks like, I think before you play, puzzle mode, whatever that means.
Yeah.
There's a few more screenshots and stuff.
Which is weird, right? Because it's a platformer as far as I can tell, but yeah.
You also do get a copy of the GBA, or for £14 or 14 euros, you get a copy of the GBA ROM file.
Mm-hmm.
For 40 euros, you actually get a cartridge.
Cool.
And for 55, you get the game complete in the box. So what you get, I guess you just get a cartridge and like a little.
Like you used to get them at EB Games, right? Where you
Right,
just,
yeah.
You can still get them that way.
Yeah.
Some people don't like having
the
the boxes,
Yeah.
which that means they can save a little money and not throw something out. I still don't understand those posts I've read where people buy Switch games and throw out
the plastic container.
Throw it out
Yeah.
in the trash.
Like you could,
at least recycle that shit.
Yeah, you can literally go on eBay and flip those for like $5 to $10 usually. I mean, shit, you could probably go to EB Games and be like, "Can I just give you this? I don't want money for it. Just have the packaging." Like you buy the thing, you tear it open, you take the thing out, and you throw the packaging back in their face because that's the kind of person you are, I guess.
Like
and
I understand
take the
only
cartridge
wanting
home.
the cart and maybe doing like a much smaller thing because I've seen people do that and I can get that. It's not a thing I want to do. I like having the thing, but I don't understand throwing them in the garbage.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I'm glad that they now are coming in smaller and smaller packaging. Like, I mean, the Switch can do that obviously because of it's a much smaller thing. But I do like the fact that it comes in smaller packaging. I think it's pretty cool.
Speaking of things that don't come in small packages, Gears of War.
Oh, I thought we were doing Snorlax again.
No. Gears of War, Netflix has announced that it is partnering with John Spates, known for his work on Dune and Doctor Strange, to do a Gears of War project for Netflix. Gears of War is one of the all-time great action games with vivid characters, a beautifully designed world, combat system that drives home the lethality of war and the importance of standing by your squad mates and standing behind chest-high walls. Like, Gears of War was the original cover shooter.
Okay. I did not know that.
Shorthand for Gears of War would be GOW, but isn't that God of War?
Yeah. This is a problem.
No.
This is a problem that has happened in the past.
Oh yeah, I mean, you should see the conversations I have with people thinking they're talking about Animal Crossing. It turns out it's Assassin's Creed, which also would be a great crossover game.
That was yeah. I remember
our fan bases would unite, Paul.
I remember a long series of checkpoints where I was confused and sad because I was like, oh, Assassin's Creed. Oh, not Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
So the main thing that I could see as being a problem with this show is casting. Because sure, you can get, you could get, say, John Cena and The Rock and, the largest wrestlers you could find.
Yes.
To play the bureaucrats in the Gears of War world. But who are you going to get to play the action? The Gears of War, everybody in the Gears of War world is like square. Like they're the most jacked people you have ever seen are smaller than like the guy the like weenie bureaucrat guys are look like bodybuilders.
It's great
in our world,
like Senator Armstrong.
Whereas
it's just JoJo.
Marcus Phoenix, the main character, is just a cube.
Yeah.
He's
that's JoJo.
Gears of War is JoJo.
Okay.
Where everybody is just jacked all the time.
Oh my god.
Yeah, everyone is massively yoked.
That's great.
So yeah, finding the right people for it could be difficult. But I also love it. Yeah, where the guy talks about like the combat system in the video game, which presumably doesn't have anything to do with the movie, like or like a TV show or a movie or
whatever they're doing. Yeah,
like the combat system of the video game wouldn't have an effect. But anyway, I played some of the Gears of War stuff. I enjoyed them as video games. I don't recall the story being like super compelling.
So you're not particularly excited for this idea.
It could be cool. Have some cool action sequences, and it's one of those things. It's one of those stories or one of those things where like the world is kind of like the world building aspect is kind of cool. And so somebody who knows what they're doing could write a good story in that world. I don't necessarily they don't have to follow the story of the video games, and a lot of these adaptations don't follow the story of the video games these days anyway.
It's weird, right? Because some adaptations, when they follow the story really closely, you would think that would be what people would want, right? Because if you're trying to get people who played the game to watch, you might want to go that route, but at the same time, pacing for a story in a game versus pacing in a movie or a TV series can be quite different.
Yeah.
And maybe doesn't even make as much sense to just follow what a game does.
But like as a cool, futuristic action movie, I think it could definitely work. I mean, it might not, but the fact that it's Gears of War, I think is a cool setting.
Yeah.
But it would be it's sort of entirely up to the writers and director and everything to actually make it
compelling, entertaining.
Compelling. Yeah, I don't think they could just follow the story of the game.
Yeah. I mean, we've already seen it with The Last of Us, right? They apparently there've been a couple. I haven't watched it. I just know from what people have been saying. There's been a couple swerves to include other people that are not just like Jake and Ellie.
Yeah, they've deviated. I know.
And even like the characterization in The Last of Us, like of certain
different.
characters, has changed too.
Yeah, but I don't intend to watch it just because horror stuff. But I did hear someone talk about like one of the changes that happened versus like what they did in the video game with it versus what they did with it in the show. And I'm like, I personally think it's actually kind of neat that they essentially went with similar information but shown in a different way.
Right. Yeah.
And you do end up with that kind of interesting situation. I mean, the extreme example is like the Resident Evil movies, where they started sort of at the same place, the movies and the video games, and they just they started diverging from each other more and more and more and more until they're completely unrecognizable as two different.
Yeah.
Like they both involve zombies sometimes is like the only connection between the two, and they both have like Umbrella Corporation.
Yeah.
And then they keep trying to be like, maybe we should bring them together. Nah, it's probably okay.
You can also do things like jump to what other characters are doing a lot easier in like a TV format and have control of pacing that you can't necessarily do in a video game because there's other stuff
you don't have to have
going on.
like all these action set pieces.
And it's not to say that you can't swap characters in a video game. Video games have done that. I played Spider-Man last year, and there's a part of the game where Peter Parker gets like hit and knocked out or something, and then you transfer into being Miles for a little bit in that game. And when that happened, because I didn't read anything about the game, I just went in with as little knowledge as possible. I was just like, wait a minute, did he die? Did he die? Is this the rest of the game now? I mean, cool but what?
This is how they do it this is now canonical.
I was really excited for that as a possibility.
Peter Parker gets knocked out. Miles Morales picks up the thing. Miles gets knocked out. The bodega cat
Yes.
just becomes Spider-Man.
The new Spider-Man.
Which apparently is in that's the like the Miles Morales like expansion to Spider-Man, because there was like he had his whole game.
Yeah, he's got. I've only played the base game. I purchased the DLC, which I need to play still, and then I also have Miles Morales, which I need to play.
Nice.
I think Spider-Man 2 is coming out. Is that if that's PS5 exclusive? That's going to be annoying because that's just going to be me waiting for a while.
It's going to be PS5 exclusive
Borrow
because
the PS5 from the office. Not like anyone
Because-
else is
that's
using
true.
it. Yeah.
because Sony is.
I keep forgetting I can just do that.
Sony's really against console one manufacturer having exclusives. They don't think it's good for the industry.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I'm sure they wouldn't say that of another group.
You know, actually, to that point too, I did think it was interesting. Somebody in the comments did say the big problem is when a game is announced to be cross-platform and then is all of a sudden pulled into being exclusive, and I'm like, that's fair. That's a distinction because the point was like, so what? So if you're not allowed to have console exclusives anymore, I don't know who's deciding that, but you're not allowed to have console exclusives anymore because the world government has decided it, I guess, that Nintendo doesn't get to have console exclusives anymore. It's like, no, that's not really what's going on here in the same respect. So, but I did think that was interesting. That's like, it's really about, we'll make it for all platforms. Actually, now that we've bought the studio, it's just ours. And I'm like, I still am torn about that because I'm like, on the one hand, that sucks, and I don't like that the way that feels. On the other hand, I'm like, if I buy a house, I don't have to let people keep living in my house. We come back to that terrible house analogy that I came up with last time.
Can I tell you my favorite thing about the Spider-Man game?
Yes.
I get the as soon as I could unlock the outfit that let me look like a 2D cartoon comic book thing, I put that in.
Oh,
and then I wanted to watch every cutscene because it's so weird to watch people interact with. Because everybody else is 3D, nothing else is different.
But you're just
and they're helping you like up, and I'm like, this is
like
weird,
so
and I love
weird.
it.
Were you like 2D Marvel comic book, or were you like 2D newspaper comic strip? Like,
I think it had the little dots.
okay. Oh, so it's half-toned. Oh,
think.
that's rad.
It's been a little while.
That's classic.
But
I
it
love
was
that.
really it made me so happy. Like, weirdly, just incredibly happy.
I love the idea that if you take off your costume, that when you peel it off, it's just normal 3D Peter Parker underneath, but when he puts it on, he just goes completely flat.
That'd be so
can't
weird.
remember if
Very
that happened or
Spider-Ham,
not,
I'm
'cause
sure,
I think
right? That'd be a very
I
Peter
think there
Porker
is.
thing.
I think there is a point where he does take the mask partly off to like talk on the phone or something. I can't remember what that looked
And then
like.
his head like inflates out of the.
It's just really funny. It's just really weird, and nobody. And it's like you watch it, and you're like, shouldn't somebody else want to say something? Like, you're looking a little flat today, and and they don't. And they're just like, nope, this is normal.
It's like I was playing
Loved it.
the Tomb Raider games, the new Tomb Raider games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider and stuff. And because it's been so long since they came out, when you play them now, they've got like all the special stuff is already loaded, is already in it, like stuff that was at the time was like, oh cool, we're releasing this, but now the game's been out for like 5 years, so it's all just kind of in there.
It's like buying the Game of the Year edition, yeah.
Yeah. And including like alternate costumes, including the like
OG Laura?
OG Lara, like big, like the sort of faceted model.
Yeah, triangle titties and everything, yeah.
Yeah, which, and the story of the Tomb Raider, that Tomb Raider series is like an incredibly serious story.
Yes.
And like Lara goes through some really harsh, like really traumatic, brutal stuff.
But they keep it in the cutscene, right?
And they keep the
I love
outfit in
it.
the cutscene. And so like I was playing that like for like a little bit, and I was like, I can't do this.
Like I get it. I
This
get it.
completely ruins
I get
this
it if
thing.
you have a costume and then a cutscene happens and then they go back to like what the normal thing is, because I'm sure it's like it requires extra to like make sure everything does whatever. But there's just something really amazing that when I'm like, yes, I got to have my choices here, and this is
Yeah.
so good, and I'm so happy.
Or games where there's been a few games where they have like persistent, either like blood or
Damage
dirt or damage and stuff on your outfit.
Yeah.
And so you'll like have a cutscene with somebody and you'll be like, hey, how's it going? And you'll be like just red.
I'm just completely wrecked, right?
And like all your clothes will be horribly ripped up and
Yeah.
everything. You're just like having this regular conversation with somebody who must be like, what the hell happened?
So you're doing great, right?
All right, Dragon Age.
Yeah, I
is
was
the
going to
one-
say,
yeah,
I bet it's Dragon Age, yeah.
Speaking of cool fantasy games, haha, Diablo 4 open beta
Oh, yeah.
is coming up this weekend.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So you can try it out. Now, they're doing a promotional thing. So in the past, they did a promotional thing with KFC.
Okay.
Apparently.
Sorry, I flashed back to Ian's Like a Dragon thing as soon as you said that, and I was like, no, concentrate on what Paul's saying.
We're listening, Paul. We really are.
They are doing they are doing a giveaway for $20,000, or they are giving away a total of $20,000.
Yes.
In various increments.
Okay.
I think
$200?
$200 prizes to 1,000 people.
Okay.
Of
Okay, sure.
Thumbtack.
I don't... That's
Which
a lot
is-
of fucking thumbtacks.
I know. Thumbtack is a like an odd job service,
Like Fiverr?
or like
Men in kilts? We have our own thing here in Victoria.
it's like people like coming by and like clean your gutters or whatever.
Oh,
TaskRabbit.
okay.
Oh,
like that.
TaskRabbit. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
So the premise is we're giving you we're you can enter this thing, get $200, and have somebody do your chores so you can play Diablo.
Oh, Diablo. Right. We're on Diablo, not Destiny. What
All
am I
right.
thinking is?
Which I guess kind of makes sense.
It's...
That's not the worst marketing thing I've heard of.
Polygon's take on this is the same take I had, which is like, boy, we're old. Like it gets us, right? Like 20 years ago, it's like, well, what do you want to get people to like? Fast food. We want to give them something. So they're in their 20s. They're in university. They need some decent food. Well, they need food, so we'll give them KFC. That'll be great. And now it's like they're in their 30s.
You're saying Blizzard might know their target audience, eh?
Yeah, I think they might. That they're just like, you know what? You have to. I know you got to take the trash out, or you got to clean the bathroom or something. And I mean, what fucking luxury to be like, somebody comes over to your house, you're like, hey, you're here on the Diablo 4 plan, so I need you to like vacuum my house and clean my kitchen and clean my bathrooms. While you're doing that, I will be playing Diablo 4 the entire time because that's what the agreement is.
I couldn't stand that.
It would drive me up the wall.
It's not like I know some people are like, oh, we have someone who comes over to help tidy up, and then they like end up cleaning before the person shows up.
I should vacuum before they get here.
Yeah, I understand that mentality.
Yeah,
I
don't
would try
like it.
hard not to do it because you are paying a person to do that.
Yeah.
But the idea of a person being in my space that I don't know and me being there at all while they do anything, I'm just gonna be like, mm-mm.
I've had people like come over to do do plumbing or something on my place.
Yeah,
and they don't need me
over their shoulder
standing there.
No, but it takes up my whole day.
And so I'm like, I guess I can go I'll just go go do some work and let me know if you need anything. But yeah, it's really hard to concentrate when you know that there's like somebody just
I don't.
A stranger you don't really know.
This person in
it's
my
like
house.
I trust this person.
Yeah.
I think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But still, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But they're in my house, and I feel like I should be getting them coffee or something. Like I'm doing hosting wrong. Or something.
And it's like they're in my house, and I'm doing ChillPoint graphics, and they might see some of the things that I'm having to download over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And that might look really bad.
I mean, that's a little different.
Yeah. There's definitely that sense of, I do think that if you have someone come into your house and you're staying there to work or do whatever, small talk is not required. Like just saying like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'll be in my room, or I'll be in my office, or I'll be in my whatever, doing this, whatever. Can I get you coffee? No? Great. Like that kind of thing. Or like, there's stuff to drink in the fridge, feel free to grab the milk or water or whatever you want. The glasses are in this cabinet. You know where the bathroom is because you'll be working on it. Like it's like, and then I think that we should all be able to say yes, yes, yes. I almost want the plumber to say that to me, to be like, we don't have to have a conversation. We don't have to have small talk. I'm here to just fix your pipes. Where can I get something to drink if I need something to drink?
Sure. No, I mean, technically, I logically know all of these things.
Yeah.
It still doesn't change.
It is an odd social situation, though.
It's very similar to me, the feeling of like, I know a package is going to come today.
Oh, yeah.
Sometime between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., but I don't know when, and they're not going to tell me. And now I need to spend my entire day standing as close to the door as possible, if not directly outside it, if I could get away without feeling like that seems creepy somehow.
And you're sort of like,
and I'm just like,
you're sort of like
this is my
edge.
day. This is my entire day. I am here, and I will not leave this post, and I can do nothing now.
Like, I love it when a package comes for me, but I hate it when I'm like vibrating all day waiting for the goddamn thing to show up. Like, I know there's a package coming for me today. Actually, should have been coming for me yesterday. And I'm just like,
and you're like, I got to take a shower, but if I take a shower now,
I'll miss
and
it.
It's just a similar feeling to me to have like a person I don't know in the house,
Yeah.
where I'm like, what if they need something, or anything might happen, explosions, I don't know. It's just a general anxiety thing. It's
I mean, getting back to this thing with the thumbtack stuff. No, but I was thinking, like, if you are either, using TaskRabbit or Thumbtack or one of these things, or you're just, a independent handy person, helping people out with odd jobs.
Yeah.
I would get, like, let me do this so you can play Diablo or Destiny or, whatever the game of the year or whatever the game of the time is. Like, that seems like a solid marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Like, even just from, like, a personal point of view. Just be like, it's like, I can do this. But have you thought about this? While I'm doing this, you can be playing a video game.
Yeah, like that should just literally just be part of people's marketing to be like, why should you do this? Let a professional do it for you in less time. Use your time for something more valuable, like playing video games. It's like, oh, to free up time so you can spend with your family. It's like bullshit. Don't do that. Get the people who are like, I'm too lazy to start a family. Get the people who are like, I just want to play some Diablo and just chill the hell out.
Well, if you want to play video games, specifically Battlefield,
Do I?
Does it have to be Battlefield?
if you want to play, if you want to play old Battlefield
I
games,
figured they all were, but yeah.
as in Battlefield 1943 or either of the two Battlefield Bad Company games.
Okay,
I
good.
didn't think they were making games in 1943.
Yeah,
Is
it's
this like FIFA? Do they
Yeah.
have a new game like every year
Battlefield
and they call it the
bracket 1943.
You know what? You're actually not wrong about how this is a lot like FIFA.
Anyway,
Season 1943.
if you're interested in any of those games, you better get on it because they are going to be shutting down, not only shutting down the servers for those games,
Okay.
but they are going to remove all those titles from various storefronts on April 28th.
Okay. Now I'm just saying that if Battlefield.org, who makes these games again?
This is
Obsidian?
in Activision.
Activision.
Or sorry, this is Electronic Arts.
Electronic Arts.
I always
EA.
get the,
Oh, so I'm not wrong with
Activision
FIFA.
made Call of Duty.
Great.
Electronic Arts makes Battlefield.
Okay.
EA is a Canadian company, and maybe they want to do right by another Canadian company and just hand over a server to us and all of the clients. I'm just saying we can do this. We can keep playing this game
Wait.
forever.
Beach is interested in the strange idea of taking a game that's shutting down and getting exclusive streamer rights to it.
And just we'll be the only ones streaming Battlefield. We brought this up, I think, last
Right, yeah,
time,
yeah,
about, like
yeah.
Anthem and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, just hand it over
Yeah.
to us and
He's
let us be
very-
the only ones who can play it from now on.
Yeah,
So the
he's
problem,
very fixated on this.
Yeah.
or the interesting thing about this, obviously, online multiplayer games shutting down is nothing new. Battlefield Bad Company, both of them, Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2, are noted for being kind of primarily single player games.
Oh.
Like they have a multiplayer to them, but they were sort of the Battlefield games that were doing a lot of single player stuff.
Okay.
And so they have but even those ones won't, like, you'll still, if you've got it, you'll still be able to keep it, but you won't be able to get it
Right.
after April 28th, which is kind of weird. There comes a time in every game's life cycle where it makes sense for us to take it out and shoot it in the back of the head with a shotgun. Wait, that's not what he said.
This is the war had to end sometime, and so
Remove
does this
it
one.
from online stores.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's like how, MASH went on way longer than the actual
Korean
Korean War
War.
went.
Or how Phineas and Ferb have
At a-
way more days of summer vacation than anyone on the
at
planet.
at a certain point. Yeah.
Speaking of things shutting down, I believe March 27th is the last day for the 3DS eShop and the Wii U eShop, which is
Right.
coming up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So if there's any last minute things that you're
Yeah. Speaking of
Gonna
things
go
going
for.
offline. That so there is an interesting story about that in itself and how that ties into other stuff, but we should probably finish our whole list of stories here if we
All
want
right.
to talk about something extra after that too. But
There's just a couple other things here.
okay.
So, Microsoft.
I know
is-
them.
Now this is there's brief mention about in the after show about some additional Microsoft Activision malarkey
Yes.
going on.
That's right.
I don't really want to get into that more because that's just all the same stuff that we've talked about before. But this is a different Microsoft story. They have they're building new developer tools to help developers analyze and reduce the climate impact of their games, right? Basically, so being able to figure out how much power their game is using at any given point
Right.
and ways to reduce it.
Right.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
which is this funny thing that we're at this point now, and which is good, I think. But we're at this point now where, I've never heard before of a company putting out tools for developers to make the system run slower.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about like a mobile game where, battery power is really important.
Yes.
But it's always like the innovations in like home consoles are always how much faster it is.
Yeah.
How much more it can do.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to render 1 billion triangles a second or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is putting out tools where it's like, but if you don't have to render 1 billion triangles a second, we can, you can tell the Xbox that, and the Xbox can throttle itself back and reduce stuff. And they talk about how, especially stuff like, say, pause, like, the pause screen or, menu screens, this kind of stuff, that where you can intelligently change, allocate resources in a different way, which then, makes it so that there's no reduction in functionality for the user,
right?
But the system doesn't have to do as much.
Right.
And there's that's kind of akin to how in Windows the different power saving modes that are just kind of can be active at any time, where you can be like, the computer isn't doing anything right now, so it can sleep or it can hibernate and all those kind of things. But also, just if the computer is sitting and not doing anything, the CPU can go into like a lower state of processing where intelligently it's like, I'm not being asked to do anything, so I'm just gonna spin in I'm gonna spin in H0 or something. I'm gonna basically draw very little power and just kind of sit here and wait to see what's kind of required of me for other stuff. Meanwhile, the fans have to keep spinning and the GPUs have to keep spinning their fans. Like all the other things still have to keep happening, but it's like I can kind of just keep sitting here and not burn as much electricity over time, and that's fine. And like, it's funny that the things that we have that take batteries are the things where we're thinking about like Apple making their watches so it's like, oh, your watch can stay on all the time, but that's because it only updates once a second, right? Instead of updating 60 times a second, and that's how we get away with the battery thing. And it's like, yeah, seeing all that come into more consumer electronics is a great idea. I'm totally down with this idea, and I think it's interesting that they're like, we want to start developing. Is it really like expanding the SDK? Is that what they're talking about? Or are they just saying like, we want to be able for the system to intelligently understand this?
The Microsoft Xbox Developer Sustainability Toolkit includes power monitoring tools. So this is part of the SDK, basically. Yeah. So just to give more analysis tools to developers in order so they can accurately see where the bottlenecks might be or see where there's savings possible, which is a cool idea, but it's that odd thing of like usually it's like, how much faster can it go?
I did think it was the line I was going to take on this is like, I think this is funny given that BC Hydro has been putting out a lot of ads.
Right. Yeah, we saw that one last night.
Right. And I was going to talk about that in relation to this because there's a part of their ads been putting on. I was like, here's some ways you can save energy. One is wash all your laundry on cold water only. You can find things to do that.
Yeah, because it requires less water to heat. Shorter showers and stuff if you can.
Yeah, that kind of idea. Another one, I can't remember what the other one was, but the third one was stream on your TV, not on your game console. And I thought that's interesting because your TV's already running. It's having to do some work as it is. So you should stream using the TV software. Don't boot up your game console as well to do all the streaming. And I'm like, PC Hydra's just straight out coming and saying, don't use your game consoles at all.
Because you're running two devices then to do the same task. So
exactly.
That makes sense. And a lot of TVs are smart TVs, so they have like Netflix and stuff built into them now.
And that idea of they have to be running anyway, so if they're already running and they're already doing some processing, you might as well just spin them up to do a little more processing to handle all the streaming. I'm like, sure. But what about the fact that TV streaming stuff tends to suck? Because it's not quite as powerful and it's not quite as good, or that kind of thing.
It doesn't have as nice a layout.
But I mean, there is definitely the aspect, and I think some of these consoles are doing the thing where like when when an Xbox is running the Netflix software, like you were saying with the you've got these new, all the processors that these systems use these days have multiple cores and different things and stuff, right?
Yeah.
The Xbox, when it's running Netflix, Xbox is not running all its fans and running all its graphics cards at full bore.
Yeah, it's like the power supply has to be on and has to be feeding stuff to the hardware. But if the hardware is sipping power to stream 4K Netflix still, because it's able to do that way more efficiently than the TV can, I mean, then maybe running it off your Xbox is a better idea.
I mean, there is, because it's actually already been brought up in chat, the issue of maybe you don't want to connect your smart TV to the internet.
I don't.
Yeah. But I mean, or there's similar things with like I used to watch, Netflix and stuff on my Xbox, like an Xbox 360, which doesn't have a lot of power saving stuff. So it was probably like doing things. Now I watch it on like a Roku, which is a thing that's like this big and just kind of sits there quietly doing its thing. And
We used to like getting Netflix on the Wii U because it had a really nice interface, and you can use the tablet to kind of look through things.
Oh, that was so good.
Instead of necessarily looking up the screen while you're kind of doing whatever.
That kind of ruled.
We really liked that.
Yeah. Now I
don't think it works on there anymore.
We have an Apple TV 4K right now, which I really like, and I'm like, this is kind of the perfect device, and I don't like the Roku interface on our TV so much. So
no, that interface is gross.
Yeah.
And then the last story I had here was that Counter-Strike 2 is coming out.
But is
I
would have thought that was already out.
I know I am also part of the group that was like, wait, didn't we already have Counter-Strike? No. There's Counter-Strike. No, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Counter-Strike GO, which is the thing that is what people call a Counter-Strike.
Oh yeah, CS:GO, right?
CS:GO.
Yeah.
Is the thing that people have been playing for 20 years or however long.
Yeah.
And they are coming out with a new Counter-Strike, which it's more of a update.
Valve learned to count to 2.
Yeah. They haven't got to the 3 yet.
Okay.
Valve will never make a 3.
I don't think they can count that.
Even
high
though
is
it went
the joke,
Counter-Strike,
right?
it went Counter-Strike, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Counter-Strike 2.
Right.
But it's still not Counter-Strike 3. So this is, it's more, I think probably could be more considered to be like a remake, because it's same general, better graphics, better everything.
Right.
But the whole point of Counter-Strike, in terms of from a multiplayer perspective, is that it's like, what the maps and what the gameplay is like.
Right.
So they got to be pretty careful about messing with that.
I've always felt that I've never played it, but I always felt that the appeal of Counter-Strike was that it was slick and fast. That it's like you get in, you play, you get out. Yeah.
And it can also run on literally like any computer that
on a potato, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, but this does look really pretty. The big thing that they showed off, I don't know if you can see it immediately. The big thing they showed off, which is legitimately pretty neat, is or one of the things they showed up. So, looks a lot prettier. Let me actually do it full screen here. Looks a lot prettier. The maps are, they want to keep the maps the same because they're so sort of iconic. Yeah. Improving to lighting and stuff, but otherwise things are the same. But I love, again, they're still on Source 2. Like, the Source engine has been around for a very, very long time.
Right.
They get the big thing was smoke grenades and how they're doing smoke. They're having this new like volumetric rendering thing for smoke.
Okay.
Ooh, look, things can drop.
Fall to the floor and they look natural. Oh my god. It's weird, right? Because so much of this really feels to me like it's some sort of like.
And it's like you will see this for like one split second. Yeah, here.
Oh yeah.
So smoke, like you can let off smoke, and then like the concussion blast from a grenade will blow the smoke away.
Oh, neat.
And stuff.
Okay.
All right, that didn't really show it very much, but
kind of neat.
So they have a whole thing for that, which I mean, it's a little bit like, oh, here we go. There's actually a whole video on smoke responsiveness. I remember, there's an old Loading Ready Run sketch called like Chess 2.0 or New Chess or whatever that I wrote.
You should probably show it to the...
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oops. When it was talking about, when people were talking about new... new updates for like StarCraft or whatever, right? And this idea that like video game esports people have to deal with game, the rules of the game they're playing changing as they play, which is kind of strange. So you can shoot through clouds,
right?
Whoosh, do kind of cool stuff. I don't know. It seems cool. You can make like when you shoot through it, it makes holes in it. Anyway,
right, because the air would change what's actually around potentially. It's an interesting idea. But the new chess,
but Counter-Strike is such a sort of solved game. Not in the sense obviously the players who play it are incredibly talented, and that's the thing. Like the map is known, the capabilities, all the things are known. Every little teeny geometry, you can do a jump here because the geometry is such that there's a 1 pixel thing here and everybody knows that.
Yes.
So that's like a known technique.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So any change to the game is going to have huge ramifications in the esports world.
Right.
And especially remaking all the maps and everything, even if the map is ostensibly the same.
Yeah.
The way the sun hits reflects off things is going to change the whole, meta game.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see what is going to end up.
I hope people take to it though. That's what always bugs me is that when people are like, I don't want to even try the new thing. That I hope that in something like this, because it looks great, and I don't care about Counter-Strike one way or the other. And I'm just like,
I mean, the other problem is that a lot of esports people always play on lowest possible quality.
There's that too, yeah.
Because they want to get the highest frame rate.
Oh, sure.
So they don't want the good graphics.
Yeah, they just want to have I just want to be a cube with a line in front of me, and that's it. But I like this idea. It's like we've updated this thing. We've tried to make as many improvements as we can, and I'm hope that people are like, I will give it an actual fair shot. We will try to play it. We will see what leads from here. Because then, what I want from people is, I want thoughtful criticism. I want people to actually play something and be like, this was good, but let me tell you why some things don't make it useful for these purposes, right? It's like, I like that as opposed to, I played it and it sucks. And it's like, I don't want to hear that. I want people to actually have reasoned ideas about what made this thing suck, right?
I feel like we could now cut to a montage of
all the times when I'm not like that.
when Beej has completely dismissed various things.
My character on Checkpoint is way different than my character in real life.
I figured we could probably do that through your playthroughs of video games.
Or on ChillPoint.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Fair.
yes, I agree.
Oh, so is that the last story?
Yes, that was the last thing I want to talk about.
So the thing that got brought up about the Wii U and the 3DS eShop.
Yeah.
So a lot of things have happened. A, we know that stuff's closing down real soon.
Yes.
Okay. B, we know that there's been a lot of arguments about, hey, none of that's going to be available for archival, and so there's been a big hue and cry about that.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
C, we know that there's a guy online who bought a 3DS and a Wii U and then bought everything on both eShops to fill them up with stuff, and he's donating them to a location to a
he did a whole video
museum.
about it, which I have not had a chance to watch yet.
But that has happened.
He bought every single thing in the eShop.
Yes, which is about $9,000 for the 3DS and $12,000 for the Wii U, or vice versa.
At least that's what the thumbnail said.
The thing that has maybe
And they should really you'd think in the last week some of these companies could put a deal on for their stuff.
A few people have.
assume.
The usual suspects like Capcom and whatnot.
So number 4, The Wrinkle.
I don't remember that game.
Wii U's are failing.
The NANDs on Wii U's are failing.
Yeah, and it's suspected that it's the Hynix brand ones and not the Samsung brand chips. So certain Wii U's are going to have certain chips.
It has a problem
inside.
with its Hynix.
It has a problem with Hynix, yeah. And so there is this worry that if you have a Wii
Good job,
U,
Paul.
that has a failing NAND or a NAND that has failed. So there's this little worry about the YouTuber who has gone out there and done this. It's like, Christ, I hope you didn't end up with a Wii U for whatever reason that has this failing thing. And maybe they haven't. Maybe they have one with a Samsung NAND, and maybe they knew all this stuff going into it.
Because I was asking you what that meant, because that was not familiar to me, and my understanding from what you said to me when we had this conversation the other night was that the NAND itself is for the booting up of the device.
Yeah,
the actual information of like the games and stuff wouldn't be located there.
Is my understanding, yes.
So it should be relatively fixable.
Right, except that it's not like a user fixable. It's one of those like electronics engineer or dedicated hobbyist fixable kind of thing, where you're going to have to desolder a NAND off the board and probably put a fixed one in place, and then also get the boot ROM onto it somehow.
But in a computer capacity of a thing, if the data is on a different hard disk thing in the same system,
yes,
would you not just be able to move the hard disk to a working one, or
that depends
or at least extract the data from that?
I don't actually know how the Wii U thinks of itself and where it registers itself as its own computer, because you were mentioning how Wii U games are tied to the console, not to the account.
And
so there's a worry there as well.
At that time of Nintendo now has stuff tied to a user account for like Switch stuff, but for Wii U and 3DS, everything's tied to console.
Yeah, and so it's.
you might be able to just pull the games off and like emulate.
It's true.
Use an emulator.
Yeah, which is what I was thinking.
Or that the way in which the console thinks of itself is not actually tied to its boot ROM, it's tied to another aspect of the console, and so replacing the chip that has the boot ROM on it and putting a proper one in place, everything might end up being fine. Or maybe you can't do that, because if you put a Samsung one in place of the Hynix one, it's like, oh, well, that's different somehow. And I haven't heard about that, because I don't know enough about that kind of level. But it's like, hey, if you got a Wii U out there, be aware this could be a problem. You might want to try booting it up and just see if it's actually running, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be running. Well, like we did that with ours. It's like ours is running, but we don't know if it's going to have a problem.
Originally, when people were finding this problem, they didn't know
what was causing it, really.
They suspect it's the failing NANDs. But when the problem was first surfacing, people just thought it was due to age.
And they're like, oh, I can just back up my boot ROMs and I can hack around it, or I can put a mod chip in or something. And it's like, that might not be what's going on. So yeah, and Nintendo is not repairing them anymore. Yeah,
they haven't serviced those consoles for a little while now.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I think I still think the Switch came out earlier than they wanted it to, because the Wii U ended up flatlining as like way harder than they ever expected.
Yeah,
and so yeah, they were always going to probably ditch that as fast as they could.
And that will also mean that there are less Wii U's on the market to draw from as a potential donor pool to be able to have that many out there. You know, it's like if you try to go up and buy an Atari Jaguar right now or a 3DO, it's like very hard to come by.
We did
failed
send
hardware.
in our Wii U several years ago because it was having a disk drive problem.
Yep.
And it got fixed and everything came back fine. So maybe yours is just special.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this episode of ChillPoint. And if you haven't watched the checkpoint that we did this week, you should do that. It is up on our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, it is probably right near this video.
Could be.
This goes on the VG channel as well, right?
Yes.
This is on LRR VG, which is our video games channel. Yes.
Yes. If you're checking out the description, you can look underneath the video to find all the links to many other channels of things that we do.
Yeah.
And thank you to Patreon, and thank you to everybody who wants to support us through the store.lennyrayrun.com, where we have a super neat assortment of various limited edition merchandise, because we ain't gonna be moving to Moonbase 6 again. So once it's gone, it's gone.
I mean, I don't know. If something happens to Moonbase 6 before we get into it, we'd need a new Moonbase 6. We wouldn't just jump to 7, would we?
I don't want to even consider that
God,
circumstance.
Holy crap.
Well, now that I've left that fear thought out in the world.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for watching, and we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.